What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I'm back with another video, this time once again, when we talk about the greatest basketball player of all time, that being Michael Jordan. In Jordan's career, he won 6 NBA championships and three-peated twice. So in this video, we're going to look at both those three-peats and decide which one was more impressive. I'll provide the stats, the context, and just the in-depth analysis so both myself and you guys can make your own decision on which three-peat was more impressive. So without wasting more time, let's get into the video and look at Jordan's first three-peat from 91 to 93. During that 3-year period, he won 3 Finals MVPs, a 2-time MVP, 3-time All-NBA, 3-time All-Defense, a 3-time scoring champion, and a 3-time playoff leading scorer. And during this 3-year stretch, Jordan was his absolute peak on both ends of the floor as a great offensive player as well as a great defensive player. And it was virtually unanimous that he was the best scorer and the best defender at his position. And Chicago as a team during his three-peat was also extremely dominant. They won 67 games, 61, and 57. And all but 1 year, they had the best record in the NBA. But what I really want to focus in on is how great Jordan was in the playoffs as an individual. During this time period, he averaged 33.7 points per game, 6.2 assists, 6.4 boards, 2.1 steals, 1.0 blocks on 57, 39, and 84 splits. During those 3 playoff runs, he had a total of 1,954 points with a PER of 29.5. Possibly the greatest 3-year stretch in playoff history for an NBA champion. And I think what stands out for Jordan during this time period is offensively as well as defensively, he really had no weakness for a guard. I mean, he could score, he could pass, he could grab boards, he was a great defender, he could shoot the mid-range as well as the 3. There was really very few if any flaws in Jordan's game at this point in time. And as a scorer, Jordan was simply unstoppable. During the playoffs and regular season, he had 119 30-point games, 35 40-point games, 7 50-point games, and 1 60-point game. An absolutely dominant stretch that no player outside of Wilt Chamberlain can come close to. Now, when talking about the first three-peat, what really stands out is how great Jordan was in the NBA Finals. In total, he averaged 36.3 points per game, 7.9 assists, 6.7 boards, on 52% shooting from the field, and 42% from 3. And looking at this individual series and highlighting Jordan's best moments, in 93, he averaged 41 points per game, a finals record. 92, he averaged 35.8 points per game. In 91, he averaged 11.4 assists, the most ever for a non-point guard. And all 3 finals series, Jordan shot 40% or better from the 3-point line. So when looking at the first three-peat, Jordan as an individual was at the top of his game and possibly the best peak in NBA history. But also one of the criteria you have to have is Jordan's competition. During their 3 championship runs, the Bulls beat 5 50-win teams and 2 60-win teams, and their opponents had a win percentage of 62.3. In the finals, 71.9. So more times than not, Jordan was facing multiple 50-win teams en route to the championship. And in the finals, his opponents won 55 games or more. And there's a pretty big NBA myth that Jordan faced weak playoff competition, but that's anything but. I was looking at those stats, Jordan faced some really great teams. And going in depth, the players he faced were also All-Star players or Hall of Famers. In total, he beat 13 All-Stars, some multiple times. Guys like Patrick Ewing, Charles Barkley, Brad Daugherty, Mark Price, some of the all-time great players Jordan's Bulls teams beat en route to this three-peat. So when analyzing Jordan's first three-peat, the most impressive aspect is how great he was in the NBA Finals and how dominant he was versus that very good competition. Now moving on from the first three-peat, we have Jordan's second three-peat from 96 to 98. And once again during this time period, Jordan was dominant in all aspects. When it comes to accolades, he was a 3-time Finals MVP, a 2-time MVP, 3-time All-NBA, 3-time All-Defense, 3-time scoring leader, and a 3-time playoff scoring leader. In effect, the exact same accolades from Jordan's first three-peat. But one thing I have to note, the Bulls as a team were slightly better when it came to their record. In 96, they won 72 games, 97, 69 games, and 98, 62. And all through those years, they had the best record in the Eastern Conference. Now, when looking at Jordan as an individual during his three-peat, he was 33, 34, and 35 years old. But his stats, as always, were highly impressive, averaging 31.4 points per game, 6.0 boards, 4.1 assists, 1.6 steals, 0.6 blocks on 56, 30, and 82 splits, with a PER of 27.4 and a total of 1,822 points. And please keep in mind, in the late 90s, the pace of play was at an all-time slow pace, and scoring the basketball, you could argue, was as hard as ever, which makes Jordan averaging 31 points per game even that more impressive. Now, speaking of averaging 31 points per game, Jordan in the finals averaged just that. He also averaged 5.4 boards, 4.2 assists, on 43% shooting, and 32% from 3. Still very impressive, but stats-wise, not as impressive as the first three-peat. But some things I want to highlight is that Jordan in the 98 finals averaged 33.5 points per game at the age of 35. When it came to fourth quarter scoring, 2 times, he averaged over 10 points per game in the finals. When it came to clutch time scoring last 5 minutes of game, he averaged 5.8 points per game and 6.0. Both those times leading the finals in that category. So Jordan in the second three-peat, his stats overall, you could argue weren't as impressive. But I think his late game play and his clutch time moments give him a big edge over the first three-peat Jordan. I mean, in 97, he had the game 1 buzzer beater where he had 39 points. In game 5, he had 38 points with the flu. And of course, in 98 in game 6, he had 45 points in the iconic shot over Russell. So Jordan during the second three-peat was obviously clutch and some big-time games and some big-time moments. But like we did last time, let's look at the Bulls' competition en route to those championships. In total, they beat 2 50-win teams and 5 60-win teams. And their opponents had a win percentage of 66.4, and in the finals, 77.2. Both those percentages are drastically higher than the first three-peat, and the number of 60-win teams beaten is more than double. And once again, if you look at the individual players, Jordan, he beats some all-time great legends. Guys like John Stockton, Karl Malone, Tim Hardaway, Shawn Kemp, Shaq, Penny, Reggie Miller, some really all-time great players from the 1990s. And in total, the Bulls beat 15 All-Stars in those 3 championship runs. So that right there is the overall summary of Jordan's second three-peat. Now for the best part of this video, let's decide which three-peat was more impressive. And I want to say first off, both these three-peats are unprecedented and highly impressive. But if push came to shove, I would actually go with Jordan's second three-peat as being more impressive. And once again, this was a very hard decision as Jordan in his first three-peat, stats-wise, was off the charts at his peak and the greatest player of all time. But when looking at the second three-peat, there's little nuggets of context that you can't ignore. Jordan during the second three-peat, when it came to clutch time scoring and fourth quarter scoring, was simply off the charts. When looking at his fourth quarter numbers all time, he ranks 4th and 5th, with 97 averaging 10.7 and 98 averaging 10.6. The only 2 players ahead of him are Steph Curry and Shaq. And I would argue Jordan is actually more impressive than Steph, given the overall era and the context of the 1990s being a much tougher defensive league. Also keep in mind Jordan during those 2 seasons was 34 and 35 years old and still on par with a prime Shaq and a prime Steph Curry who was the MVP and an NBA champion. Now we're looking at clutch time scoring, that's the last 5 minutes of game within 5 points. You could classify this time as money time and winning time, and Jordan once again is in the top 5, with 98 averaging 6.0 points per game and 97 averaging 5.8. Once again, you have Shaq at 5.0 points per game, you have 2011 Dirk at 5.2, and 06 Wade at 6.5. So once again on both these lists, Jordan is in the top 5 multiple times. And even more impressive than that, the company has some of the greatest players of all time. Once again showing Jordan the second three-peat was at the top of his game when it came to late game execution. Also, one big reason is that all 3 of these Bulls teams were very, very old teams with an average age above 30. The 98 Bulls are the oldest championship team in NBA history. The 97 Bulls are 4th, the 96 Bulls are 6th. And the Last Dance championship in 98, I think, is Jordan's most impressive championship. He was 35 years old, and his Bulls team was running out of gas. Pippen missed 4 games during the season and was hurt in the finals. Dennis was AWOL and benched in the Eastern Conference Finals. So when it came down to it, Jordan was carrying an old Bulls team across the finish line. And in total, looking at both these three-peats, I think the second three-peat, Jordan faced tougher competition. You had Shaq's Magic, Gary Payton and Shawn Kemp's Sonics, you had the Utah Jazz, who were dominant and great, and really top to bottom Eastern Conference had some very, very competitive teams. And kind of going hand in hand with competition, you have to look at teammate help. And when looking at the NBA Finals, Jordan's Bulls are some of the worst scoring support in NBA history. The 98 Bulls, the lowest scoring supporting cast for a champion of all time. 97 Bulls were 2nd, 99 Spurs were 3rd, 06 Heat were 4th, the 94 Rockets came in at number 5. And I want to show this to you guys one more time. because Jordan's Bulls in the late 90s, he was absolutely carrying them on the offensive end and was their #1 scoring option every single night, while simultaneously having to be a first-team all-defensive player. So in conclusion, I think Jordan's second three-peat was more impressive and more important to his overall legacy. During his 3 championship runs, he had some iconic moment. In '96 in Game 4, he had 45 points in Orlando and got his revenge for '95. In '97, he had the flu game, where he had 38 points in the game-icing 3. In '98, he had the 45-point explosion in the game winner over Brian Russell. So when it's all said and done, it's a very hard choice. I think second three-peat Jordan had the more impressive run compared to the first three-peat. So as always, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed it, I'll see you guys next time.